Hi there. Today is Saturday, October 29th, 2022, making this the week 43 Create Brilliance weekly update with your hostess Jennifer Vanderbeek of scrapsoflife.com. Hi, how are you? Oh my goodness, we are almost at the end of October. I mean, like November is a couple of days away. I don't even know. But then I looked at something this morning. I'm like, ooh, do we have the December such and such? And I'm like, okay, no, I just completely skipped November. What happened? What happened? Brain, what is going on? This is Jennifer's brain on retail, I think, because yeah, I work in a retail shop. As of Friday, we started like slipping Christmas music into the playlist. Although I will say, so far, the Christmas music that the shop chose is actually really cool. It's nice and, like, bluesy and jazzy, and it's not the stuff that a lot of us are already burned out on, so I'm like, "Okay, for my first holiday in retail world, this might not this could work. This could totally work." We'll see. Mileage may vary. I'm still fabulously excited and thrilled to go to work each time I go in, so, it's all good. But yeah. So just a little aside, I don't know what day, month, year we're in all the time. Yeah, that's just how this brain is working right now. So anyway, ho what have I done this week? Well, I spent a lot of time on one project and a little time on another. Let's start with a little time first. I worked some finally on this other pet portrait that I've been working on. What got finished was the kitty cats kind of curled up in this corner. I have one more doggy face due in this one, and in the background wash. Um, and then this one will be finished. Finally. I started them when? Yes, we all know. We know that I started them ages ago. So there's that. The other thing that I was majorly working on this week because I really wanted to get it finished by today so that I could wear it. And once again, the Mother Nature has once again thwarted my attempts at being seasonally appropriate without issue. Not that I let the weather stop me when I'm like, doggone it, I am going to wear this outfit. But I can remember so many years of planning the pumpkin carving parties where I had like this cute outfit planned and like the weather had been like cooling off. We had this great fall temperature, and suddenly the day of the party, usually which was traditionally the Saturday before Halloween, um, it would be just awful outside, and more times than not, I just said, "You know what? I'm wearing it because this is what I was planning on wearing, and I will just deal." I don't deal quite as well as I did then. Yay, hormonal changes, but, whatever. I was determined to wear sweater vest complete with skull detail today. Now, being me, I have no intention whatsoever of restricting this skull. It's technically the pattern name is skull tank. It's like meant as a tank top, a loose tank top, or like a bathing suit cover up. I have styled it as a sweater vest. I also added the different colors. It's shown as one color. I added like the striping and everything. Um, so yeah, that's on me, but, yeah, I was determined to wear this today, and I'm not going to restrict myself to wearing it only around Halloween because skulls are year-round. We carry one around with us every day. They're usually just not as much on display, but that's why I made it in, like, non-traditional spooky, non-spooky colors, unless you're, afraid of pink, gray, and purple, then well, that it's possible, but I'm not. Anyway, so I've been working on this for the majority of the week, just fitting it in wherever I can because I really wanted to get it done. And I finished the crocheting last night, before midnight, but it was about 1:30 in the morning when I finished weaving in the ends and doing all the fiddly bits. So, that's just the way it worked. Um, but I was really proud of myself for getting it done on time, and I loved wearing it today, even though it is all kinds of humid and muggy and just outside. And yeah, I was a little sweltering when I started work and was pulling orders and stuff. But it's fine. Fine. It I totally while I was working with it, it was giving me kind of like Monster High, the Monster High dolls. If you're not familiar, you go look them up, you'll see what I mean. But it's getting kind of like Monster High exchange student vibes. Like, it's like Monster High. It's not like they wore this as a uniform or anything, but I could just totally see it. So I paired it with a little straight skirt, like a pencil skirt, and stockings that are gray with black skulls, the skull and crossbones on them. Um, because why not? Why not indeed? It's all in good fun. But yeah, so this was my main focus this week, getting this finished so that I could wear it. And, photo finish though it may have been, it's still finished. Um, I will say that I was kind of proud of myself in order to, so while I was working on the painting, though, going back to the painting, I did that on my Twitch stream. And I figured out a new overhead cam setup so that I can more easily do um, more physical media. So I'm not restricted to digital media. And I mean, it's not like it wasn't rocket science or anything like that, or rocket surgery, as the silly, oopsie version of that saying goes. But just it gives me the giggles. Um, it wasn't super difficult, but I'd heard about something and I'm like, "Hey, let me see if this will work for me." And it did. And that doesn't always happen. Very often we could have something, we could hear about a product or a service or an app or a website or a project or a person that, people are like, "Oh yeah, I use this. It's great." But it may not fit for us, and that's okay. Which is unplanned and yet somewhat apt, possibly, potentially, segue into today's kind of thought on brilliance. So while I was finishing this sweater last night, yes, we're still going back to the sweater vest. While I was finishing it, I knew I was playing yarn chicken. You know what yarn chicken is? Yarn chicken is if you will get to the end of your project before you get to the end of your yarn. I really thought I had enough, and then the closer I got to, like, when I started doing the divided front, was these were the last 2 pieces finished, I was like, "Oh, no. I'm doubting whether I'm gonna have enough yarn or not." And, so, I took what I had and I, like, weighed it out in equal amounts so that I could keep the stripes even, because that is a challenge when you're working on something that is not connected. You wanna make sure that, everything is even though our bodies aren't, but that's a whole different soapbox and rant. And so, I was going along and I got about this high with the gray and and then I was out and I'm like, okay, and I could only get this high with and I'm like, oh, but it's tapering. It's getting smaller and smaller. No, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Still ran out. You're like, Jen, how did you finish the sweater then and that late at night? If you ran out of yarn. Well, I ran out of the yarn I purposefully bought for this project. I have plenty of yarn. And it so happened that I had yarn in a slightly different weight, but close, by a different dyer, um, that matched fairly well. Like from a distance, if you're not looking for it, and especially considering it's at the shoulders so that, my hair is covering it. But yeah, this gray, not the same as this gray. And even though they're kind of mottled and marled and there's some variation in there anyway, it was close enough that I could substitute that yarn finish the project, and be able to wear it today. So today, I want to say, inspired by that, that brilliance is substitutions. Sometimes we run out of something. Sometimes we run out of our own motivations and we have to borrow someone else's. That can come in the form of deadlines or other factors that help motivate us because our own motivation just we ran out. It dried up. The- you got to the end of the yarn and it's poof, it's gone. Um Sometimes we have to substitute a plan. We had one plan for something, but it wasn't going to work. So you find a substitute. Sometimes you substitute a whole mission, a whole goal, a whole purpose. And that kind of goes in with that whole change aspect. It's like things change. We get to a point where, our old goals may not fit anymore. So we find new ones. We substitute so that we can continue on. When you've got, it's fall, so football is going on everywhere, it feels like. A coach, they have a starting lineup. They have their players that they want to be on the field. Something happens. Someone gets sick, injured, fouls out. Stuff happens. So you have to substitute. You can't give up. You can't well, I mean, you could, but in this scenario, we're dealing with things where, things are set in motion and yes, quitting is an option. Okay, let's go ahead and say it. Quitting is always an option. You can always just stop. But if you don't want to stop, stopping is sometimes a valid reason or a valid thing to do. But if you don't want to stop, that coach is going to substitute a player. He's going to put someone else in that spot. They're going to tap in and tap out. It, that happens. But you keep going. And while last week I was feeling less than less than great about where I was in everything. Not everything, but a lot of things. I was feeling less than great, but I wasn't stopping. I was maybe on pause. This week, I'm feeling better. I have a little bit of motivation. I I have a little bit of momentum from finishing this sweater and being very close to finishing this painting and having two things off of my to-do list. And while part of me wants to jump in and start working on the next project, part of me also says, no, 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 use this momentum. I can word, I promise. Um, to be able to finish the book. I'm looking over here because that's where the that's where the copy of the draft is that I'm but I did. I started working on that. I started updating my edits or going through the book yet again. And I have the next newsletter will go out around about the 11/5, the 5th of November, which week? Next weekend? That's next Wednesday? Yes. Ooh, fewer days than I thought I had, but again, schedules are complicated. Yeah, so next Wednesday, thereabouts, my next newsletter is due out. Well, I have some things that I want to be able to share or announce or, at least hint at. So there's my motivation. If I want it done by the time the newsletter goes out, then I got to get on the ball. I am substituting one motivator for another. But as long as it works, that's what matters. As long as we get there in the end, even if we get to a point where we substitute one goal for another, It's okay. As long as we get where we're going. And that path can change. And that's okay too. But yeah. So consider, is there something not working in your life, whether it's, wherever? Is there a substitution that can be made? And it doesn't have to be a person. It doesn't have to be a thing. Again, like me, I have to substitute motivation sometimes. I have to substitute a deadline for my own personal motivation. But it gets us where we're going, and still in a healthy way. I mean, I don't ever want to feel like I am under someone's thumb again, if I can help it. You know? I don't want to I don't want to have someone so able to, crush my dreams, my goals, my mental health. And even if it's one person or a company or a group of people, I don't want to be in that position again. So whatever I substitute, whether if I need to change a goal, if I need to change a motivation, if I need to change a project, whatever I substitute, as long as it's keeping me out of that area, out of that arena, out of that environment that I no longer want to be in, I don't want to return to, and I say, good on us for doing so. Okay? So that's where I'm going to leave it today. Thank you so much for checking in with me. Thanks for coming along on this weird and sometimes wonderful, sometimes not, but always continuing journey of me kind of restarting my life. Call it a midlife crisis. Call it a midlife reboot. That's kind of what I would prefer to call it. After all, I'm not changing everything about myself. I'm just keying in on those things that I've always wanted to be my identity instead of what I felt like I had to have as my identity. And so I appreciate every one of you who stops by, who checks out this video series, who checks out my Twitch stream, my other YouTube videos, follows me on TikTok, follows the newsletter, um, may find me on other social medias. All that information is down in the description box. As for you, I am so grateful, not just for you, coming and interacting with me however you choose, but I'm grateful that you're in the world because I think the world would be a darker, lonelier place without you. And so take care of yourself. I'm going to take care of me, but I need you to take care of you too. If you have the bandwidth, the time, the inclination, take care of others that you love. Never be afraid to tell them that you love them because we never know. Don't miss that chance. And as always, never be afraid to show the world your brilliance. Till next time. Bye.